Hi Rumi, really happy to have you here.
Hi.
Today we are going to present the next episode of Against the Tide, which is a series of conversations on artistic practice and cultural politics. The conversations are meant to trace journeys of artists whose practice can challenge and disrupt the dominant political and aesthetic frameworks in artistic expression. And we're really happy to have Rumi as part of this particular episode because we feel like his body of work really speaks to the spirit of Against the Tide. This October Jam, we will be hosting several artists and we will be releasing episodes of Against the Tide precisely because we feel that it speaks closely to the theme of lightning, Minchu and Bijli, because we believe that this charge will keep us going in our years to come in Maraa, and the charge of lightning is embodied in the works of the people we will be featuring in this series. So I think many people already know Rumi Harish. Rumi Harish is based in Bangalore, but I would still like to introduce Rumi because there are many sides of Rumi that we also don't know, many people don't know. So I'm just going to take 2 minutes to introduce Rumi and his body of work. So because his work cuts across different genres of music, sexuality, politics, activism, theatre, poetry, painting, writing, and probably many more to come, he is very difficult to categorize as any one kind of artist. In a sense, his work is also very fluid, one thing blends into the other. Rumi identifies as a queer trans man. He has been working in the field of social justice and human rights of various marginalized communities like contract-based sanitation workers, transgenders, queer and sex workers for the last 22 years. He started learning Hindustani classical music at the age of 8 and learned under 6 gurus all over India like Late Pandit Ramarao Naik, Pandit Yeshwant Bua Joshi, Pandit Dattatreya Garud, Pandit Indhudhar Nirody, Panditha Aditi Upadhya and Pandit Sudhindra Bahowmick. He is now going through his voice transition and is trying out a new way of singing and use of voice. He has written 3 plays called Sanchari, Freedom Begum and A Journey from A to E. He also recently wrote a play called
Sheher in the
Khaki, which talks about police brutality and violence specifically targeted against queer and sexual minority communities in Bangalore. He's also a regular columnist, again for the last 24 years. Has been writing in both Kannada and in English across different publications. He is focused on crisis intervention and worked with Sunil Mohan, another dear friend and activist, for over 24 years. Along with Sunil Mohan, he has written books, reports, articles which really contribute hugely to the discourse of sexuality politics in India. Presently, he is focusing on developing the regional cultural aspects of queer and trans communities. He recently released his autobiography, Jaunpuri Khayal, written by Dada P. Jaiman, who is an established queer poet in Karnataka. That's a lot. So can you imagine me trying to have a conversation with Rumi about all these different worlds? So let's start by just thinking about this multidisciplinary approach you have to your work. How do you manage to blend all these different worlds into your body of work? I mean, could you share a little bit with us about your process and how one informs the other?
It was never supposed to be multidisciplinary. I was trained to become like MS Sublakshmi at the age of 22 and be married and have children and then become an established musician and not see anything. But I just couldn't be what my mother wanted to be, and I was very much, right from the beginning, I liked poetry and history. But of course I was never allowed to read books. There was no time to read books for me. I was made to sing 12 hours a day, so where was the time to even to read books or anything. So the very little amount of time that I used to get in between 3 minutes to 5 minutes between each hour of practice, I would rush to Vivid Bharati and then listen to my film songs, Hindi film songs. Now they're called Bollywood, but then they were Hindi film songs. And I have always felt that I'm a keep of Hindi film songs, old Hindi film songs. So multidisciplinary somewhere doesn't occur because whenever I have not been able to sing, now it's like a heterosexual marriage. Music and Hindustani classical music and me are like heterosexual marriage. So we don't know when we are together, when we are separated, when we are divorced, when we don't have sex, when we have sex, when we have we don't have babies. That is very cute. So thankfully, and I also don't teach music because I don't know how to teach. So I'm saved from many such distractions, which pulled my attention to writing right from the beginning. As in, I really like to write, but I never had a kind of clear language, a good Kannada or a good English. I don't have both. Even now, I struggle with both languages. So what I do is, if I'm writing in Kannada, English, I mix it with English, and if I'm writing in English, I mix it with Kannada. And then Hindi is like a bonus. And then of course, after joining activism and having being able to work with several people, now I'm getting Malayalam words, I'm getting Tamil words, I get Hindi, Bhojpuri and so many. So it's like really crazy. I can now understand Marathi, Punjabi and Bengali. So it's all about my love for languages, how they speak, how they express, and so all that took over my writing, and so I enjoy writing. I feel that somehow music lacks something that writing has. I don't know what it is. And music is like unnecessarily abstract. But it's also good. It's also good that it is abstract. Yeah. I don't know what the deal is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the question on language is very interesting, because you have also been writing recently in Kannada, in these columns, and you've been talking to us a lot about how do you write in Kannada? Is it different from how we speak it? And the expression of how when we say something, speak something, it's very different when it is in writing. But I think you're trying to break that somehow.
That was broken by, actually I had broken that long ago. After that I had stopped doing that. I used to write in the barutteve, hogutteve types. But then I saw this writer and journalist called Harshit Markugwe, who writes and speaks and uses Yellar Kannada, where there is no need for bhara, the bha is not needed. When we speak, it's bara only. So like that we write. And then the spellings also. So it will not be very complicated Kannada. So you just speak and then you write. That's it. So I think that was the easiest thing that happened in my life, because I wouldn't understand complicated Kannada. And but I love Kannada somehow. I genuinely love, now I genuinely love 3 languages. One is Kannada, one is Urdu, and one is Malayalam. So they all sound they have their own, it's like different genres of music. They have their own kind of sounding, because in Kannada when you say, hey, ba maga, that's a different kind of saying. And then Sakhave when you call, or for example, when we were all introduced to Malayalam in Lesbit, the most endearment was "E Maire Vada" was the thing, and then again Urdu, the whole the way it is, the uchar, the pronunciation and everything. So I feel that there are different genres of music. So if you listen to them, and it's beautiful.
So in a way, language itself is like music, is what you're saying. It sounds like music to you.
Yeah, something like unexplored music.
Unexplored music.
Yeah, not the established ones.
Okay. So, what is your grouse with music? Like sometimes I feel like there's been a very, like, that training, it was so hectic and you did go to all these different gharanas and learned so much. And I somehow have always seen you trying to fight that classical tradition or any other rigid structures and bring in also your own transformations. So what is your relationship then with music, if you said that other things?
No, like I said, that it is like this heterosexual marriage, and I am not a heterosexual. I am a very clear-cut homosexual. So there has been a intolerance right from the beginning. I'm using the word intolerance. One is to lose childhood and sing for 10 hours, 12 hours. It's like complete nonsense. Nobody will think of becoming Bhimsen Joshi at that age and will want to be something. But there are children who are talented, who are gifted. That is different. But somebody who is like not even half talented, you are like forced into it, and then you kind of. My practice was like one full day, and I am like, can I kill somebody? So that's and then gradually when I graduated to at least 3/4 swaras, I was initially thrilled, but I didn't know that also would become like something like a punishment, like sarigama magari, sarigama magari, sarigama magari the whole day. Like how many sarigama magari, sarigama magari, sarigama magari? Not even change the speed, not even change the thing. The thing has to keep on going while you sing, while you speak in the same voice. So you speak and then sing, you speak and then sing. So sarigama magari, sarigama magari. And I was like, God, fuck it, yaar. And that's why that 5 minute of with Bharti Hindi film songs were like, I felt like really, very my kind of relationships and things like that, yeah.
And once when we had invited you as part of, I think, one of the Maraa...
No, but I shouldn't just say that it was all this bad only all the time.
Exactly.
I also got enamored by that kind of, getting this whole initially, which I felt was such a painful, boring thing to keep on saying sarigama magari, later became my mantra. Mantra, I don't want to use mantra. Later became like my my osiru, my breath, because ultimately what matters in music is how much of training you have done, so that what your head thinks that you should sing was the idea that my Guruji taught me. So it was like if my head is thinking of a certain thing, it immediately should come out. So the head thinks and comes out. So that is the kind of relationship between head and the voice. So that I explored, and then the intensity within one swara. So for me, then I realized why, for days together I wouldn't move even one step ahead than sa. Which I'm back to that practice now. So in the mornings when I sing, I'm like sa, sa. I think I like the practice. Performance wise, I'm like sick of the way that people have fixed it. that they will sing one short raga and then one big raga and then one short one and then one bhajan and one thumri and then something else and then one Nama and I don't know, somehow I feel this people have spoken a lot about this kacheri format and I hate this kacheri format. Because my guru had told me when I was young, which I never realized, but then realized it much later in 2013, that it's not the question of how you sing, it's also the question of where you sing. So then, I who was into singing concerts and felt that I was in an ivory tower and the classical musician types, when I first time sang in a EWS slum, I didn't realize that people would cry and come and hug me like that. So that response kind of opened my eyes that, we are the ones who have made it classical. Otherwise, it's not something that there is no need to understand music. So first of all, the moment you say music, first thing that people say is, I don't understand. Why do you need to understand anything basically when you want to experience something?
Yeah.
You experience, you just hear. So when somebody touches you, how do you understand the touch? It takes so much time to say, okay, even the good touch, bad touch also. So like that, I think we should allow ourselves to experience, and then if need be, like for example, when Mora Gora Ang Laile, when she does that Laile, that's an experience you just have to feel. So, and also this whole Meri Jaan Mujhe Jaan Kaho Meri Jaan, she says, and when her swara goes deep down, it doesn't, nobody, I don't know if people have ever experienced, for women going deep down in the lower octave is not as much as enjoyed that when a man does it. That is when some Jagjit Singh does it, or when Hariharan or Shankar Mahadevan does it, or somebody else. But somehow that woman had an amazing this thing, Meri Jaan. That was like such a beautiful experience that my tape recorder got spoiled several times only because I used to rewind and play, rewind, play. So and then I'm like slightly. I then started getting addicted to small things in film music, which opened my eyes to the classical music, because I will not say ultimately everything is based in classic, because classical music is one style of music. So there are thousands of other kinds of music. So I could relate here and there, and then I tried to change my expressions very much like the then Hindi cinema.
Yeah.
Like for example, if you are singing Saya Re Lagan Lagi Re Saya Re. So that the taking of the breath, the breaking of the word, I learned from that Hindi cinema music, and I think I was quite influenced by Bhupendra as a singer. I was influenced by R.D. Burman as a singer, as a music director, Kishore Kumar. Yeah, so those made me rethink the Shastriya music, classical music that I was singing. So this love-hate relationship has been there, because whenever I can't sing, I hate it. Whenever I can sing, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but I remember when we had invited you also, like when you were exploring also like classical music and sexuality and even lyrics, tumris and khayals, and how those were also gendered in a particular way, and how you were trying to think about playing different parts within that. Could you talk a little bit about that and why you felt it was necessary to do it?
I moved on, yeah. I don't think I like it anymore. As in, words doesn't matter. I feel now like, yeah, of course, in classical music it's amazing. The Hindustani classical music, what we sing, Khayal, we should stop saying classical, we should say Hindustani Khayal. When we used to sing Khayal, what used to happen was very funny things that, you know, it is all about the 17th, 18th century everyday life. So there is one mother-in-law who is fighting with the daughter-in-law. There is always a clandestine lover who's waiting for you somewhere in Nadi Kinare, and then there's always this, complaining neighborhood about your fidelity, and then there's always, you are always pining for a hero who is stuck in the rainy season in some other part. So, all these images are very interesting, and it's also this very interesting thing that, they whatever they do in their life, whatever work they do in their life, it comes back into the compositions. Like, for example, there are compositions where they've sung about carpenters, where they've sung about dyers, as in coloring and dyeing and all that. So I used to feel more comfortable with such kind of lyrics, and within that I found a lot of compositions being queer.
Yeah.
So then initially, to make myself feel belong, I did all this nakhra. Even when I performed for you, I did this, wherever there was saya, I made it sakhi, and then I was like, oh, then later I thought, what a bullshit idea. It's like stupid, no, that doesn't break anything. Saya, what difference does it make actually? Your mouth might say something else, your head will say something else, your sound will say something else, and then finally what you mean will be something else. So the idea of singing, for example, if I am like going to say something like neele huve, now this doesn't have gender. We gender it because we always, fortunately or unfortunately, we have always, tied a tadi between flowers and women. It's very unfortunate, papa. So this neeli hue can be anybody, can be any gender. It can be a cat, it can be a stove, it can be whatever. So this idea of imagination through words, to transcend words and then to sing, to see. So I'm going on. It feels like a journey, because for me, I've never felt that this is the end.
Yeah.
So whatever I did 3-4 years ago, I will feel foolish about myself.
Yeah, makes sense. So in a way, it's like always transforming.
Always, the voice is also always transforming. So I also feel sometimes I feel very happy about my voice, especially after taking testosterone. It's really crazy. One day it will feel like I can't even sing one full line continuously. Sometimes I'm like, it shocks the hell out of me when I sing. Now it's like but the same thing sometimes comes out very beautifully.
Yeah.
So you don't know what is happening with your voice. So sa ni dha pa ma. Now this is one practice that I have to do, and I love doing it. Initially, like as a child, which I used to hate, now I sit and do it like really with a lot of love. So, but I think the way it ಅಂದರೆ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಚಿಕ್ಕ ವಯಸ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನನಗೆ ಒಲ್ದಂಗೆ ಇವಾಗ ಒಲಿತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ. It is not loving me. Music is not loving me like the way it loved me in my childhood. Music is running away. Maybe I'm boring.
Just We're not letting you go anywhere. Your voice is going to be. So the next question is actually about voice only. So I think that voice has held many meanings for you as you just described. And in your activism as giving voice to communities that are not heard, in your music challenging various things that you've just described, and also in your journey searching for sexuality and what this whole thing means, right? So can you share with us what is the, like, what do you feel your work gives voice to? Yani ki, like, what is the meaning of voice? Like, what is your voice giving voice to?
My voice is not giving voice to anything.
Please.
And the thing is that I had series of misconceptions which are breaking, and now I'm like trying to understand that I need to develop my voice where I should be heard. Earlier I was being fakely heard, and I was being like, artificially being heard or something. And I feel now I have to be, my truths need to be heard. Like, for example, when I first jammed with a French bass guitar artist, I assumed Hijra's voice will be, yeah, but why can't it be mine? Why just because a person's body is designed the way they want, why do I need to associate a voice which is whatever, almost like nauseating? So then everybody liked it. This was a hit, super hit song. I still remember, and now I feel like spitting about it, saying how could I even sing something like that. Then I did a series of things. I made all these people write poems. All the Lesbit gang, and then Lesbit was a group that we formed in 2005 to put together our group, which was female assigned, where we had lesbian, bisexual women, female to male transgenders, persons with intersex variations, and then sex workers who had lesbian orientation, so like that. And I made everybody write poems. I spent money and went and recorded. Then again it became the songs separately, individually are very nice, but put together it doesn't sound well. For me now, I moved on. So then I again one day went around recording Bangalore according to the music and the voice of people, going one round from BTM layout to Shivaji Nagar and then RPC layout. So BTM, as in like the present BTM layout, starts with this Bollywood Soniye, and then just when you pass a little of Panshankari and the Basangudi and Chamrajpet, it all become Krishnani Begane, and then suddenly it will become Azan in Shivaji Nagar, and then So I tried to put these things together, and then in RPC layout with large thalis, all these hijras singing the same. What song is this? It's very popular, the hijra song. Ayore Balla, Mera Jiyore Balla. I'm like, then I thought, why am I stereotyping everybody? No, because people also, somebody like me also came from that same Baswangudi who ended up singing Allah Mero, Allah, what was that? Allah Jane, Mola Jane in a Ganesh Habba.
Yeah.
And it was thrown out by my grandmother. So there could be people like that also. Why should I just generalize? Then I cancelled all those kinds of ideas, and then I said, fuck off, our research should be different. And then when I joined Sunil, I think Sunil put more buddhi into me, saying this is not how you think. So by the time I tried to realize what my voice was, I actually wasn't giving voice to anybody. I was not giving voice to anybody. People had enough strong voice. I was just a person who would stand with them and probably shout an ara. That's it. So assuming that certain communities do not have voice is itself very wrong, because everybody has a very strong voice, and the only thing is that we are not ready to hear them. And sex workers shouted, like for example, when Sunil and I think went with Salma once to this Upadhya police station, and then we got the permission to protest somewhere, and then I was trying to talk to this activist who said that, who told me that, should we come and do a protest for these people to stand in a public road and have sex? And like, why will anybody have public sex in public road? So that's what I realized, that I don't need to give voice to anybody. And in fact, so there are lots of assumptions even within the progressives, because just because I sing, they assume that I will be able to sing anywhere and for anything, but I don't have songs like that. Wherever you go, I can't keep singing Meera Bhajan everywhere. And like for example, once Salma, me and Sunil, we went to this what police station was that? Upadhya police station, and to get the permission to do a protest. And then I'm calling a progressive this one, and then she said, no, for these people to be able to have sex in the middle of the road, why should we come and protest? But if you sing, I will come. I'm like, that is not the idea. Question is not, you call me, I will sing on the phone, but I don't think I should be singing in that protest. So, I'm not against people singing in the protest, but I'm also, I want some kind of, I'm neither happy with the protest music, nor am I unhappy with the protest music. The thing is that you have protest music for certain forms of protest, you don't have protest music for certain issues. Like for example, when it is sexuality, when it is gender you have, sexuality you don't have. And you cannot bloody question marriage, because everybody wants to get married. And then you also don't want to question the, like this very funny people, these children of, not CWC, the Namamane children. They taught me very funny things, like, I said, so I'd gone there to make songs for them. All the children were like, so this was the phase when I thought, I'm giving my voice for all these unheard communities. So they taught me back. I said, why do you need education? So let's make a song on education, and you should have seen their faces going. And then, okay, fine. Then I said, why do you need education? And they said, because I have to read the bus number. Then I'm like, how to make a song out of this? Somebody else says, I have to take a very high dowry. That's why I want to learn more. So then I said, fuck it, yeah, what I'm doing is completely wrong. So I've also done all kinds of nonsense, and then come back and said, no, this is not the thing, no, this is not the thing.
Yeah.
But what I have done is to take from the sex workers, not from children, take from the sex workers, take from the trans people, take from the parakarmikas, take from different voices, so that I get the textures, I get the, because of my privilege, I don't think I would have had this kind of experience in my voice. Otherwise, I would also be singing something like something like that. But to sing in a voice which is like Janeman, Janeman, Janeman can also happen with me. Janeman, Janeman, Janeman can also happen with me. Janeman, Janeman, Janeman can also happen with me.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of, I have borrowed voices, I have borrowed experiences. I have, like, for example, if you listen to Salma, who keeps on speaking, Alla darling, adenagutte gotta darling, adu ಎಷ್ಟು ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾ darling, ನನಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕತ್ನಾಗೆ ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಬಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು. So what you learn from her is the breathlessness of speaking. So I've done something very technical things like that, of holding your breath from somebody like, and learning it from somebody like Salma.
Yeah.
And some very abstract, like where you break. So this relationship between Tala and Raga is exactly like husband and wife. And I want to be a sex worker to the Tala. How will it work? So I will only meet only when I want. Otherwise I will not. You can go on. Go on. So like that I am like trying now. So there are lots of things like that in it's basically, if you look into any Indian music, folk or non-folk or anything, except for a few Adivasi music and all that, everything is very heteronormative. So the whole heteronormativity kills you so much that, and the whole Carnatic music is another thing completely, like God, 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 God. In the name of God, you do all romance, you will explain the boobs of the God, but you will not feel sad about it, or you will not feel embarrassed about it. So like that kind of hypocrisy I just don't like.
Yeah. Fair enough.
So I'm very thankful to my mother that even though I was thrown out of the Ganesha Habba, I'm still able to sing Allah and Allah Jane, Maula Jane, because otherwise I would have been singing Kucha 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 Kucha. Somebody's boobs, 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 boobs. Why will I need to do that? I'm so glad.
Yeah. Oof, amazing. Okay. No, so there are two related questions to what you just said, but I think I'm going to talk about this thing that you've also always brought up in conversations with us in the years of our friendship. The role of the tawaif, the sex worker, the courtesan, has always been kind of central in your articulation of feminist politics and just understanding queerness, or like this constant fluidity that exists. What makes their voices and experience so close to your idea of feminism, or just life almost? Like somehow I feel like they give you life.
I don't know if I should answer this because I've just begun writing my sexual autobiography.
Ooh.
Yeah, so in English, and that too my kind of English. So anyway, I'll just tell you. For me, somehow humans have not generated that much of sexual feelings than something else, like a tape recorder or a sarod, or a kind of there is this work. There used to be this the first time I saw this woman, a construction worker woman, who wore her sari till the ankle and then just put her leg apart and stood and peed. I fell in love with that woman. So I was like, if I have to be, I have to be like her types. So then when I saw Mughal-e-Azam, I thought I will be the Madhubala and I'll be the Prithviraj. Not, mind you, not Dilip Kumar. And then when I saw Umrao Jan, I decided, I knew that I was Farooq Sheikh and I was Rekha. Because I could get both of them. So I was very confused with my gender, but I was both of them.
Yeah.
And I could perform as in sit and perform and sing. And you know, when I, as a child, when I used to sing in Aankhon Ki Masti Mein, I knew like I would imagine thousands of eyes going really like that into my eyes. And then this is all when my parents and other people were not in my home. And most of the times they were not. So all my practice, classical music practice, will go out of the window, and I'll do all this acrobatics. I'll be the Umrao Jans, Umrao, and then I'll be the Pakizas. But I somehow need not like so much of Pakiza. I like Chitralekha's this one, and then I liked Amrapali's by Jayantimala. So like that, I was fully into these kind of characters.
Yeah.
And the more they sang, the more I loved it. And that sarangi, like I felt like, you know, the most sexual instrument that can exist in the entire world is sarangi.
Okay.
So so for me, initially my understanding of sex was all around getting wet. So whether I sing or when I hear or something around that. Am I distracting myself from the question?
No.
Okay. So like that, I thought of, I mean, for years together I couldn't express myself, my gender, my sexuality and all that. But I kind of escaped a lot of things, like for example menstruation and all. I just did tell for like 2 years at home, and then but my mother was like master, she had not told 4 years, so I was like much lesser than her and all that. Then when I met people like Famila, they opened my eyes to a life where they just struck down that music to me in such a way that it meant nothing. Plus my teacher had taught me how to kill songs and, you know, abuse songs, and then how to break songs, which was also my favorite pastime. Like, what was that? Dam Maro Dam. How much I love that song. I also used to sing kind of thing, and just to kill it. So, so sexuality was crucially important. Can you just repeat the question? I think I'm lost.
No, when you're talking about Famila and how they inform, or like what do you draw from these figures,
so
right?
Then my question was all about whether I'm drawing this kind of sexuality from music, or is it am I attributing these experiences to music? Now that question came to me 2 days before my surgery, gender surgery, at 47 years. Till then it didn't bother me. I don't know why. So I was like thinking, what is it? Which was it? And then I somehow felt that music is very queer. People have made it very heteronormative. Music is actually very queer. You can do anything with it that you want. You can always play around, you can romance, you can have sex, you can do everything. So, and when I fell in love with people also, it was mostly women and one night stands, and then I've experimented with men, but it's like, and then but I can't say totally like, okay, I don't like men, but I also like men because of their beards. Some of my poems are also for them, and then like at times, like there were some men in my life, like I thought if I marry, I should marry only them. It comes in the this one. in the chronological list. The first man that I wanted to marry was Nizamuddin Aulia. And then second was Kishore Kumar. Third was before Kishore Kumar there is another Dara Shikoh. Okay, then Kishore Kumar, then Gulzar, and that's it. There ends the list of men. So, but marrying Kishore Kumar was the most lucrative thing.
Yeah.
Why? Tell me.
Because he gave you everything.
No.
Then?
You marry Kishore Kumar, get Madhubala free.
Oh God, you must have said this hundreds of times, huh?
Yeah.
You get Madhubala free.
So somehow like that I used to imagine. But the kind of people that my parents showed me were all like this real estate agents and then silly idiots and then somebody would tell my name and say, what is your name? And then like, so I escaped all the times. And by the time I asserted my sexuality to my mother, she was like, okay. I'm like, what kind of creature are you? So when I actually spoke about my relationship with Sunil, she was like, I thought the hell is going to break loose, my father is going to come and do something, my mother will do something to me and do everything. But then, funniest thing happened was that my mother said, no, but he doesn't know English. He's not 10th pass. I'm like, that's all. I don't care, yeah. I'm like, okay, then fine. I also don't care if he's 10th, no, he's not 10th pass or he's like, doesn't know English and all that. Same woman was extremely happy when he wrote a book in English. She came so like, so well dressed and then came and hugged Sunil and all that. So people at home, I mean, my parents are really crazy. I think it's also their irresponsibility. Otherwise, why will they let a girl child be so free? That's really crazy. Because I told her the first time I smoked, I told her the first time I drank, first time, whatever I do, I mean sex when I told her. She's like, okay. But I would like, is she a mother or is she really crazy? So that way sexuality kind of, and then I think I related everything that I sang to sexuality. Which was not necessarily, because if you are ascribing so much of heteronormativity, you also don't need to ascribe so much of queerness to music. Music is music, that's it.
Yeah.
It could be queer, it could be whatever.
But this, I'm going back to the question of the Tawayef.
They are. Tawayef, then, so that's why I was telling you that. So I would become both. I would keep becoming both.
Yeah.
And then I think after Umrao Jan and then Gaman and there was no such films at all. Except Bazaar.
Yeah.
Bazaar was one such film.
Yeah.
Bazaar, I wanted to be Naziruddin Shah. And I knew I like that, there's one shot where he puts his hand like this and this part, oh God, what a lovely curve it is. I'm like, whoosh, how I wish I could suck it kind of a thing. I mean, no sexual part at all. So all kinds of craziness. And then I also, when I met Famila and I expressed my desire to her, she is like, what Tawayef you are talking about? You are so much a man. And then slowly I also talked about this whole thing about my masculinity to Sunil and then slowly to my friends, and then actually first one to identify that, even though Sunil and I were in love relationship, first one to identify my masculinity was Sunil. Was because I know very clearly I'm not womanish. Then what am I? I'm not either masculine. So I can't say I'm not masculine, but I don't know. So sometimes now though I'm very clear. I am like the male tawaf for all the men. Women can come and sit around and enjoy, but I'm the male tawaf for all the men, and I'm very gay.
Yeah.
After surgery, I realized that actually, I really like men, because the moment I started identifying as man, I feel like I like men. So there are lots of men I'm in love with, loads and loads of men. So many of the, I cannot even tell, many of the people in the Dalit movement, and then this Irfan who passed away, and then there is that Rahul Gandhi. Oh my God, how sexy can one be? So all kinds of men I like.
Wow, I really hope he's watching this.
But of course, I like women. Even now, I like women more, because they have something that the stupid men don't. I think men, all these men, they think from their penises, which is growing on the head. That's why.
Yes, you told me this as well. I'm going to ask you one question about your mother, because I feel like...
I'm bored.
No. Like, she is also like a sculptor. I remember once when we were talking, you were talking to me about how her entire imagination was really like working with stone, right? And like what kind of effect that had also on you. And does that at all connect with what you have?
So she's very happily fed in guilt inside me for it to take rest. So she would not rest, she would not allow me to take rest. Now when people say take rest, I don't know how to take rest. I become so restless, I become so anxious, that thanks to Kanaka Murthy. Then thanks to Kanaka Murthy for making me feel weird and awkward in front of many people. For example, there used to be this Tamil woman who was very dark body, beautifully carved kind of body. She would come in the sari and she would come on a cycle, and she will be selling the spinach. So she will be screaming, saying sopu, sopu, which we would hear as not sopu. She will be screaming it in Tamil. So kire, kire, which we will be hearing as kero, kero, which means fuck me, several people fuck me types. So this idiot woman one day calls me when that woman comes, and she's telling that woman, see, actually what you're asking, I can't do, my daughter will. So that's the kind of mother I have. So, and then in some TV interview somebody said, assuming that, women, they will definitely say, and they also give this description saying, the hand which carries the hammer also has a bangle, la 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 la. And what is the thing that you like maximum? As in, what is the thing that you like? Like is such a light word.
Yeah.
So they expected that she will say her husband's name or my name or something like that. I'm sorry, but then this idiot, what makes you think that I wear a bangle when I'm sculpting? Won't it break? Don't you have common sense? This thing is going on in the interview. A second thing, what do you like so much? Red sandstone.
Right.
So a mother like that, and she's like, if you don't practice, I will not talk to you. Finish. I had no friends other than her.
Yeah.
So I had to practice. And then she's so comic that I always used to like feel that, she's, I don't know whether she was purposefully comic or she was genuinely like that. She laughed like a monster, and she would laugh like we would say something and she'll laugh like, ah! I was like, what is happening to you? Thanks. So, and then she will also, she would try and sing a lot, yeah, and she was quite bad in it, and then it was very funny, and yeah.
But she has a huge role in shaping your identity.
No.
Oh.
She had no role in shaping my identity. In fact, she had the best opposite role by forcing me into certain things. And then I saying, like, thanks to Kanakamurthy, I said no to marriage. Thanks to Kanakamurthy, I said no to this. I said no to that. I said no to this. So the saying no came from her because she forced me into it. Like saying no to God and bhakti. But this over bhakti, melodrama of bhakti and all, I cannot tolerate.
Okay.
So I'm like, fuck off, yeah. All of you are like full bunch of cartoons who will sit there and say, Krishna, Rama, save me, save me, save me. Not possible in my lifetime. So that she helped me say no, as in by forcing it on me.
Okay, I have two kuti questions. So, I mean, I think this love-hate relationship with your mum is there. Her presence is still there.
Love-hate relationship with mum and music.
Mum and music. We've established that now. So, but now as an activist also, all these years you've done so much of work. I want you to share with us like what were your high points of creative energy and how is it translating into your work nowadays? Because there's a lot that you would have learned, obviously, in the last 24 years of doing this work. Like, how do you feel, like, being that? And right now I see that you're painting, you're writing, there's a different kind of a creative burst from when I knew you, let's say.
I think I was a full 100% nomad. Because I used to carry one bag, which used to have pads, then one set of clothes, and then one toothbrush, and that's it. I didn't need anything else. A comb would never ask. Like chumma do this and then tie one thing and go run away. Never stand in front of the mirror. I never like to face mirror. It's only these days I see mirror because am I getting the beard or not? Am I getting the mush or not? Kind of a thing. So as a woman, I have never faced myself in the mirror. I used to hate it. Second thing is that I was always obese, and which is why my family used to hate me because of that also. Because they were all like fairer than me, and they were all like saleable than me. They were all like, thanks to all of this, now I realize that, thanks that I was obese. Otherwise, they would have married me off much earlier, even before I could think of. So then another good thing about, so I always imagined not the feminine torso, but the male torso somehow for me is a fascination. So like that I started, when they started psychological therapy after my mother's death and they asked me to paint, I started painting torsos. I painted several torsos and through it and then thought and drew it and through, and then finally Sunil said, listen, don't be silly, take all this art paper, use a brush, paint, pencils, light pencils, thick pencils, everything. He bought me like one entire studio and then he made me like sit and work in one place. So Sunil has been one reason for my settling down and not behave like a nomad. Given a chance, even today I will run away like a nomad. Because of Sunil, I am somewhere settled. I'm taken care of. I get everything at the tip of my fingers because I lose an eraser, he will say take it. Like that, Sunil takes care of me literally like a child, like a friend, like a brother, like a mother, like a whatever relationships are there, he will take. Everything is taken care of there. So I really don't miss my father that way, or my mother. I mean that stupid woman I do miss, but not the mother. Then writing. Of late, I used to write poetry a lot earlier, but I don't know how it used to be. But now these days I'm seriously getting trained into writing by Dada Pir Jaiman, who's a queer writer and also a Central Sahitya Yuva Puraskar awardee, and then who understands me quite well in order to tell me what I write, whether I kind of write, whether it is, if it is not poetic enough, if it is not working. So like that. So, and here we also have this Friday challenge where we write poems and then present it to each other, and then we critique each other's poem and like that. So I'd like to read one poem which I wrote today.
Yeah. That was exactly what I was going to end it on. Could you read something?
We can wind up with this, no?
Unless the audience, the mass audience would like to ask some questions.
Yeah, where is that Friday gone? Yeah, no. Oh, okay. ಬೆಳಗಿನ ಕಾಫಿ ಅದೊಂದು ನಶೆ, ಬೆಳಗಿನ ಕಾಫಿ ಅದೊಂದು ನಶೆ, ಕಣ್ಮುಂದೆ ಹಾದು ಹೋಗುವ ಪ್ರೇಮದ ಝಲಕ್. ನಿದ್ದೆ ಎಳೆವ ಕ್ಷಣ, ನಿದ್ದೆ ಎಳೆವ ಕ್ಷಣ, ಕಣ್ರೆಪ್ಪೆ ಭಾರ, ಕನಸುಗಳು ಅರಳುವ ಕ್ಷಣ, ಒಂದು ಮತ್ತು, ಮತ್ತು as in again the intoxication, ಒಂದು ಮತ್ತು, ಕಿವಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾದು ಹೋಗುವ ಪ್ರೇಮದ ಝಲಕ್. ನಡುರಾತ್ರಿ ನನ್ನದೇ ದೇಹವನ್ನು ಮುಟ್ಟಿ ರತಿಗೂ ಕಾಮನಿಗೂ, ರತಿ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಕಾಮ ಆರ್ ಸಪೋಸ್ ಟು ಬಿ ಹಸ್ಬೆಂಡ್ ವೈಫ್ ನಾನ್ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್, ಸೊ ರತಿಗೂ ಕಾಮನಿಗೂ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸವೇ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಧ್ಯಾನಿಸುವ ಒಂದು ರಾಗ, ಅದು ಕಣ್ಣಿಗೆ ಹಚ್ಚುವ ಸುರ್ಮದ ಮದ, ಅದು ಕಣ್ಣಿಗೆ ಹಚ್ಚುವ ಸುರ್ಮದ ಮದ, ಬೆನ್ಸವರಿ ಹೋಗುವ ಪ್ರೇಮದ ಝಲಕ್. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ comes and then strokes my back and then goes. That is also ಪ್ರೇಮದ ಝಲಕ್. ಅವನನ್ನು ದೇಹವನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಆವರಿಸಿಕೊಂಡು, to have him all over the body, ಅವನ ದೇಹದ ಘಮದ ಕುರ್ತಾದ ಜೇಬಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಇಟ್ಟುಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತಿದ್ದ ಚುಂಬನ, ತಲೆ ಕ್ರಾಪ್ ಕೆಡಿಸುವಂತೆ, ತಲೆ ಕ್ರಾಪ್ ಕೆಡಿಸುವಂಥ ಪ್ರೇಮದ ಝಲಕ್. ಅವನ ಒಂದೊಂದು ನಯನ ಚಲನೆ, ಅವನ ಒಂದೊಂದು ನಯನ ಚಲನೆ, ಕಿರುನಗೆ, ಅಪ್ಪಿಗೆ, ಚುಂಬನಗಳು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ರಾಗಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಡಿದಾಗ ನನ್ನ ಮನಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ಅವಕ್ಕಂತ ತರುವ ದುಗುಡ, ದುಗುಡ ಆಸ್ ಇನ್ ಅಗ್ನಿ, ದುಗುಡ ಪ್ರೇಮದ ಝಲಕ್. ಅವನ ಕಣ್ಣಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣದ ಪ್ರೇಮ ಕಲ್ಪಿಸಿಕೊಂಡು, ಅವನ ಕಣ್ಣಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣದ ಪ್ರೇಮವ ಕಲ್ಪಿಸಿಕೊಂಡು, ತನ್ನ ತಾನೇ ತೇಲಿ ಬರುವ ಮೈಚಳಿ, ಕಣ್ಣೀರು ವಾಸ್ತವ, ನಿಜವಾದ ಪ್ರೇಮದ ಝಲಕ್.
It's really beautiful.
So we are doing this now. Like a lot of things I write, he goes through, and so that is a new kind of support that is there in my life. And Dadu has become part of the family for me and Sunil. So the three of us actually enjoy a lot being together and talking about films and then talking about sexuality, talking about stories and everything. Yeah, so.
Wow. Yeah, such beautiful imaginations you leave us all with, like in terms of how, I don't know, sometimes we get really caught up with the stress of the world, and I think we've forgotten how to chill.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And I feel like every time we come to your place, it always reminds me of that. Like, because it's become I don't know, a place for also, it's not like it's just, there's a lot of meditation on also leisure and also love and friendship, which is...
No, we also took the house only to make it like a community house, and where, and this is an open invitation for you all. You're most welcome home to get pampered, read, sleep, do whatever you want. You'll get breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks, and free drinks.
Does anyone else want to ask any other question? Yeah, I think Rumi is always around in Bangalore. You can always meet Rumi and Sunil and be part of their home. It's a wonderful space. But thank you for throwing so much light on also these different interconnections between, I think, the different worlds that you inhabit. Voice, sexuality, I don't know, different forms of love that you've spoken about.
I also want to just say one thing.
Say.
That I'm not in love with one person.
That was it.
That several thousands of people I'm in love with.
Correct.
Living and dead both.
That also we got a sense of, given that Nizamuddin Aulia is also on your list. But yeah, it was really beautiful, and I hope that I think all our listeners, viewers will really pick up from this way of also being nomadic in the spirit that we've heard of Rumi's, and maybe all wander and wonder. Closing song. Please, from Journey to A to E. Journey from that play. Remember how you were singing the songs?
I don't know. I forgot it. But I'll sing something for you.
Yeah, for me. Sing a song for me. With all of them, they're saluting your spirit. Your company.
ಕದ್ದು ಮುಚ್ಚಿ ಕದ್ದು ಮುಚ್ಚಿ ಕದ್ದು ಮುಚ್ಚಿ ಬೆರಳುಗಳನ್ನು ಮೂಸುವ ನನ್ನ ಕಳ್ಳ ಕೈ ಚಟಕ್ಕೆ ಕದ್ದು ಮುಚ್ಚಿ ಬೆರಳುಗಳನ್ನು ಮೂಸುವ ಕಳ್ಳ ಕೈ ಚಟಕ್ಕೆ ನನ್ನ ಸುತ್ತಲೇ ಗಿರಕಿ ಹೊಡೆಯುವ ನೆರಳ ಆಡಿಕೊಂಡು ನಗುತ್ತದೆ ಆಡಿಕೊಂಡು ನಗುತ್ತದೆ ಬೆರಳುಗಳಿಗೆ ಸದಾ ನಶೆ ಬೆರಳುಗಳಿಗೆ ಸದಾ ನಶೆಯ ವಾಸನೆ ರುಚಿಯ ನಶೆ ರಕ್ತದ ನಶೆ ಕಾಮದ ನಶೆ ಕೆಲಸದ ನಶೆ ಮಣ್ಣಿನ ಹಣದ ನಶೆಯ ನಶೆ.
Oh my God, okay.
This is half of the poem that Dadu has written. I just sang here.
Hey, yes, I can see where this collaboration is going. Sounds amazing. If only everyone would understand the lyrics, no? They can imagine the subtitles. So crazy. Good fun. Thanks, Rumi.
Okay.